Good evening and welcome to Special Assignment, a production of CPHS 6. Our guest tonight is Senyk. We are talking about CPHS Channel 6. We're going to get a little bit of a tour. We're going to learn about some of the technology that's involved. Thank you for taking time to move from behind the camera out here to talk with us.
You know, I'd like to say that it's great to be here, but the thing is, it's a little unnerving being on this side of it. Normally, most people say, oh, that guy was pretty nervous. I saw him. He was sweating and everything. But it's not really. I mean, the guests really can't say about how bright these lights are.
How warm.
And how warm it is in here, especially in the summertime. So it is quite a change being in my nice little air-conditioned control room.
Do you just throw all the lights on in the room? Let's just start with something simple like that to make a set look like this?
No, not at all. That every light is actually aimed for each individual set. So if I wanted to, I don't know if the director has the capability in there, but we can actually make it kind of dimmer in here. So what we can do is we can turn off some of the lights, and even though it's a little cooler, it's not exactly best for the cameras, but they're not actually picking us up in full detail, but it does look nice, and then they can bring it back on again.
A little more of a mood lighting,
yes,
but not really conducive for making good TV.
Or a good interview. It does work fine. And when Cliff Erickson was on here and he was doing a song, yeah, not to have it so bright.
Take us around the studio just in your mind a little bit. I guess we'll have to do a little bit of a radio tour because you can't turn a camera onto itself. But there are 3 camera positions set up in here.
Yes, one right here is covering the center shot, and this one, of course, takes care of the whole stage and everything. Then we have my own personal camera, so that actually this is where we can stop. We don't even have to go to this camera over here. We'll just keep it right here on mine, and then this is the way to do it. But no, we also have this camera over here.
I'm just crossing
King
Edward off the list.
Is for his, and so I'm saying that, yeah,
that's mine.
That's your camera, right?
Well, and then see your face in it then.
Well, you know, that's also I said that, you know, you don't want to actually tick me off, because right now, see this lower third that appears before me? See, it's got everything on there. Now, first of all, that takes a little bit of time to do. You just can't come up with that. But if you wanted to
pull that out of your shirt while you were sitting there?
No, but if you wanted to upset me, for example, for yours, let's say that we put up this title first. See, Bill Kimball, what do you think of that?
I like that. I like that a lot.
Oh, you do? Okay, we'll take this away. How about this one, Yul Brynner?
Hey! No.
No.
What does it say underneath Yul Brynner? Glare King or something?
No, it says the hair club president.
Well, yeah, let's get rid of that one.
Yeah, well, that's probably a good idea that it wasn't Bill Kimball's, or else you probably would have fired me. So it's a good thing. Yeah. So now we just go back to your usual. There it is.
That's the one that you see most of the time, host.
Oh, right. That's one of the things that people don't realize, is that, you know, the title has to actually, you know, pertain to the show and speak about it. So when people reading the TV guide, they get a very good idea of what the show is just by the title itself. If we called it Chicken Man,
how did this get up here? Hey!
So the biggest myth to get rid of is that a half-hour show doesn't take a half hour to do.
Hey.
Sometimes it appears to be a half hour. It could be 45 minutes. There could be retakes. And then from there, well, if you look at for a retake, for example, I mean, like, take a look at me, for example.
You changed right before my eyes. How'd you do that?
And that's just it, is that's one of those things that's editing, that even though the show is running continuous, doesn't look like anything happened, the camera's actually stopped and let me change and then come back. And I said, likewise, I could do this to you.
There it is again. That thing lay an egg? Oh no, that's just my head. Okay.
But that's just it, is that even though that happened and the audience didn't see a jump or anything, the camera stopped, we put that on you, and that's through the editing process. And I did that because, not to show the whimsical side, but the thing is that normally what happens, that if a guest keeps making a mistake or says something that they don't want to say, or just after they get done saying something, they said, you know, boy, that really sounded stupid. Well, that's what we do. We cut the tape. We then have the person and the host ask the question again. They restate the question the way, they answer the way that they'd like to do it, and We're back.
Hey.
And then also that the sets, for example, I'm kind of tired of this. Let's go to a different set. How about this one here? Like the set of our schools here. And see, here we are on the Board Note Show. And here we are, City of Port Huron. This is a set of City Beat with Randy Fernandez.
I have to say I'm getting a little tired of this bouncing around. I never know what kind of seat I'm going to land on.
Hey, I can take care of that. There. This is the way we'll do it, is that I'll ask the question then. A lot more interesting guest, a lot more interesting host. Hey, tell me, Ed, when you do a show, all this editing and everything that goes back and forth, does it take long to edit a project together? What an excellent question. Sometimes that I did a project which took 5 minutes was the total time. It was the Classic Car Parade in 1995. Those 5 minutes took 14 and a half hours to do because I was taking shots of the cars and putting them to a song and making sure that every beat on the song had a different car that popped on or a different change of scenery. So there are a lot of times that I can actually spend really involved into a project. That the CO2 car races, for example, that takes about 2 days to do because it's a bunch of shots that you take and you put together along with the interviews with Bob Beeden. So it really depends upon the project, but yeah, more hours can be spent than what people would even figure. Wow, that's very fascinating. Now another thing.
That's enough of this. Get back over there. I like your job.
Gee, I was doing pretty good too. All right. Spoil sport.
Oh, that's the question I was going to ask.
Well, you're on your own, pal. I'm not helping you.
Now, what if a segment starts running a little bit slow? Not to say anything about your interview tactics.
You mean like this segment?
Yes.
Well, there's a couple things we could do. One, we could do the Benny Hill type where we just speed it up.
You can actually speed up to what somebody is saying? Yes, so that right now we would sound like Alvin and the Chipmunks. But we would still look somewhat normal, our mouths maybe moving a little faster. Well, if you want, you can move your hands like this and then make it go really fast, and then people right now are just saying, yeah, that's the most interesting part of the whole interview right here. I think I'll just leave the Lost in Space robot action to you, and we'll go from there. Warning.
Can we take a look at some other sets, but maybe not have to necessarily bounce to them this time?
Yeah, absolutely. Come on.
We can just walk?
Show you. Yeah, we'll walk.
Wait a minute. I'm stuck. Help.
That's
Get
okay.
in here.
That's okay. Come on this
No.
way here. We're back on this set.
It's kind of like being in the country, but everybody got a bit of a chance to see that we're not in the country.
Have a seat. Yes, it is. Let me pull up a chair here. This is our 2-story boarding house set. It's kind of comfortable.
Now, we've seen this with actually stories, 2 of them, being read for the younger kids.
That's right.
That's a clever name. Give us a little background on that.
Well, that's pretty much what it was, is that I wanted to have 2 stories being read, and I was trying to think if we could call it a 2-story house. But if you have a 2-story house, then you are also limited to that homeowner being the person who gives the story. So I wanted to have where we could have different people reading, and then of course you don't have to build different houses, so therefore we came up with a 2-story boarding house so that people can be coming through this boarding house, staying here, coming out and reading the story to the kids and read it out there to them.
Tell us a little bit about this set. I mean, it looks like, from the camera angles, that we are somewhere out in the country. If there were crickets chirping or maybe a brook babbling somewhere, it would feel like we're not in Port Huron.
Yeah, this set has a whole story in itself. When I came up with the idea for the 2-story boarding house, and I started drawing sketches of this being a front porch and everything. Everything was there except for the wood, the material to build everything. And
That must have cost quite a bit to get this and stain it and make it look like it's real weathered and been up for a while.
And the reason it's got that appearance is because this wood has been stained and weathered. It's been up for a while because it was in somebody's front yard ready to be picked up by the trash collectors. They were out there ready to gather it all up, and I drove by with the van and said, wait, there is my construction wood. And so I gathered all this stuff up. I think it was Jamie and I at the time. We loaded it all up into the back of the van, and this became the set. There's a couple pieces like this bench and this rocking chair. The bench was donated to us, and this rocking chair we got at Goodwill. So the pretty much the cost of it, like this thermometer back here, that was donated to us by, I think it was you.
It just reminded me of the country.
Yeah.
Nobody really ever hears, like you see in the movies, with the clapper and action and cut. How do you know if everything is going right during the taping of a scene?
Well, that as we're speaking and as we're talking and all these different camera angles are all being put on us, there is a director in a booth behind glass windows right out there in front of us, and that person can let us know.
Hey, okay, enough about the director. I think I need some new talent. Start over.
Like a voice from the clouds, our director comes through and lets us say, cut, we got to take that over, or we got to do it again, or I don't like the way you answered that question, or she might just say, this guest
Don't
right,
like your tie.
yeah, this guest right here doesn't like my tie, get out. So that's what you always know you're being watched, and also for the benefit that you're being scrutinized, so that if you do say anything wrong, won't appear in the final product.
You have 3 cameras set up, as you pointed out, the different angles, but only one camera operator in the studio with us. How does, in this case, Brandon know which camera to go to? You mentioned headsets. Is he being assigned to the different positions as we shoot through the director?
Yes, every camera has a headset that is tied into an intercom system. The director then speaks to him through the headset, and that Brandon is, being that this is, we have no extra students here or anything, that we just have one camera operator. Brandon's only working one camera out there, and I think Brandon's supposed to be out there.
Oh, that's where you want me?
Will you get out there? I'm going to talk about camera shots and things like that. Yeah, so if Brandon, like if he hops on this camera over here, that the thing is that when a student comes on and starts to work on the camera itself, there's things that they have to learn to know, they have to be trained to know, like focusing. Like if the focus is way off, it looks like, that somebody might have tipped a couple, and then there's the zoom control. It's either nice zoom in, you don't want to be zooming in really fast, or else now you're looking at those 60s dance where they're zooming back and forth like laughing or something like that.
But all those are appropriate.
Well, they're appropriate to different... Right, different media
Situations,
different situations
settings.
call for that kind of thing. Like Batman would have that kind of stuff going on.
We're in a relatively confined space here in the studio where the students have to know technology in terms of keeping it tight and keeping a focus. What about when it comes to sporting events where you go out and tape a Port Huron Northern or Port Huron High School event?
I'm glad you mentioned that, because we've got a set that's just appropriate for those questions.
I hope we can head over there soon, and even the bench would be better than sitting on this. I think I've developed slats in my you-know-what.
Okay, well, hold on, here we go. There.
Well, that's a little better, except I'll probably put slats in the chair from the indentations I have from sitting on that bench at the 2-story boarding house. Here we are at Sports Talk now.
Yes, and that's the set that we have with Larry Manns, and this is where he talks about sports.
A lot of times you see people doing a talk show like this, and all of a sudden kind of highlight clips come up. How do you do that?
That's something where we take B-roll, and B-roll is footage that we take that does not have the audio going with it, so we don't care what the audio is, because it's just going to be the B-roll footage. So as people are talking, then they run the B-roll right on top of it.
Maybe like the International Day Parade. If you had just shots of the announcers or just an interview on the side, it could get to be an awful long program.
Yes, and the International Day Parade, which of course brings up something that we've just done in the summer, and that's pretty much how we do our sporting events and everything. That starts off with all that equipment that we have has to all go into this van, and then from that van, then we hook up, if we're doing football, we hook up the stuff in the van right then and there, and then we travel to either football, or in this case, to the parade, and unload all of the things like the cameras and put that out on the crane, which we had. We had Alicia Salazar out on the top of the crane there. Another camera went to Jamie Yielding, and then another camera went to Doug Weaver. And in the
There was
van,
also a roaming camera, a wireless roaming camera.
right, and that was used for by my nephew James Senyk. He had the roaming camera on, which is wireless, so that he could take shots, and then those shots would be fed back to the van.
The van you're talking about is your basic utility van. It's not a moving truck. It's not. It's a standard van just with no seats in the back.
That's right.
And that van pretty much fills up with equipment when you go.
Yes, and not only that, in the case again with a parade, that inside there's where a director sat, there's where the audio guy sat, who was Brandon, the director was EJ, and then also Lisa Yielding ran the toaster, which put all the lower thirds over each parade float that went by. We were actually able to show who they were.
How many people does it take to do, say, the parade? You've already mentioned 4, and I don't want you to miss anybody.
Well, let's see, we had 3 in the van with 3 camera operators, and then 2 announcers, so we're looking at 8, and then somebody to, well, actually, I think
Utility person.
You were sitting there feeding the camera feed, camera
a couple
cable.
of us doing that.
You and Christina, my niece, so you guys were feeding the camera cable to Jamie, so as he's run back and forth. And then there was also another announcer, so there's actually 3 announcers. There was Kathy and myself, and then also Tom Francis, Kathy Thompson and Tom Francis.
What's the hardest part? Setting up for a shoot, doing the shoot, tearing down afterwards?
Tearing down is always the easiest, because that's, all the pressure's off. But both the pre-production and the production is just as intense.
And you only get one chance at something like the parade. You can't ask them to stop and back up and let's retake, as you have pointed out.
Right, and that's the stress that goes on when you ever do a wedding. It's the same thing with the parade. You can't say, hold it, I messed up. You guys want to go back and we'll start again.
I'm kind of amazed that tempers don't flare a lot more than they do when you have a director and 3 or 4 cameras, as you said, a couple announcers, and in one ear you're listening to what you're saying about the parade, in another ear you're listening to what the director's telling you, where the cameras are going. I'm just a bit surprised that tempers don't really get out of control.
With the students right up to our faculty here, is that we are all taught that it's a team effort, that if something fails, there should be another person right there to either help change it, to make it work, or to pitch in somehow. But there's no pointing fingers. We don't concentrate on the problem, we concentrate on the solution.
Where do we go from here?
Well, let's find out.
Well, we did it again.
Yeah, and we're inside now, and I kind of like these chairs better anyways. This is a lot more comfortable.
I think it's every Thursday night at 6:30 we see Mr. Kimball sitting in that chair, and hopefully it will be okay. We'll be out of here before he shows up.
I feel kind of honored. This is nice.
But let's speak about his show just for a minute, just as one example. Leading up to that show is about what seems like a minute and a half of an opening that kind of shows things in his office and about the district. How did that idea come about, and what does it take to put together that kind of an opening for a show?
Well, the opening, first of all, every opening we try to have be pertaining to the show, something to grab the viewer's interest right off the bat. And that opening there, I look at the title. And of course, being that it is a show with a lot of involvement, that you were involved with it, that Mr. Kimball's involved with it, that idea of the title had to meet the approval of all of us, and actually the title itself has to speak about what the show is. From the desk of Bill Kimball. Therefore, it's ideas coming from him, interviews with him. It's all about him, as a whole. So with that idea in mind, then the next thing we had to do is shoot stuff that pertained, videotape things that pertained to the man himself. I've toyed with the idea like going out to different schools and showing schools, or showing them behind the podium talking, or showing him meeting with people and shaking their hands. But actually just felt a lot better that if we went in his office and shot different parts of his office, I mean, that's his credentials. All of that stuff in his office, from his name badge, which tells you right off the bat that he's a superintendent, to plaques on the wall, to projects that he's worked on. I mean, that's his whole life. There's his credentials. You don't need anything else. That's the man right there. But then you find a piece of music that actually has a little bit of impact behind it, that actually speaks again of the man and also the theme. And then those clips, you then got to put them in order, think about the effects to put behind them.
When you say effects, what do you mean?
Well, there's this zoom effect that just keeps popping out. Every picture just keeps banging in front of the screen, and then it goes faster and faster, and then finally, all of a sudden, you see Mr. Bill Kimball at his desk, turns around, and then from the bottom, right in front of the desk, the words crawling across saying, "From the desk of Bill Kimball," and then right to the pad where it has your name on it.
Da-da-da.
And of course, that line again right on this pad of paper, "From the desk of Bill Kimball." So that opening, that took about at least 4.5 hours just to put down and to come up with the ideas of what order, what has to speak first, the turning of the badge around to show his identification. So
I know I was with you the day you actually did the filming in his office, and like you said, we were probably there 3 or 4 hours just taking the different shots and lining things up. What about when that tape gets back here and goes into post-production work? What kind of involvement, what kind of staff do you have that can help out with that?
Well, we have, if you want to talk about staff, I mean, we have a heck of a staff here. I mean, we have E.J. Shea, and he's a guy who I consider him to be the heart of the Channel 6.
The voice, the heart.
He's very passionate, very passionate. I mean, that he's easily recognizable. He's on crutches, but the thing is that you never know it. You never sit there and say, wow, you have to keep reminding yourself that that man is on crutches. He just moves around so fast, so quick, and he's somebody that, again, that's, like I said, is the passion. So everybody contributes their ideas. We have Brandon Kovac, who is our newest person on there, the rookie. He came in from a student that was with Mr. Stairs' TV production class, and then from there, he was one of the perfect match in our interview to come aboard and help us out. So.
You actually draw then from the students that we'll talk about at some point that are involved in the TV class here at the studio.
Very important. I mean, that is the foundation at Channel 6, is all the students' input, and that Brandon was an excellent candidate for this job because of his enthusiasm, his creative ideas that he had as a student. Those things carried over, and we said, well, yeah, Brandon's a perfect choice. So Brandon came aboard, and then also we have, I can't exclude Jamie Yielding, who doesn't work here anymore. Brandon took over for his job, but then again, Jamie's never
Jamie's
let
not on
go.
the payroll here, let's put it that way. Jamie was busy working here the other day, taking care of some things. So.
Right, and then also on the parade, he comes and helps. He still helps, anytime that we need him, he's there. He was our jack of all trades. I mean, anything that you could think of, he's worked on vehicles, he's worked on computers, and he's been in this AV world. So, I mean, he's got a little bit of knowledge of everything, so he was very, very helpful. And then the other member, of course, is very dear to my heart, and that's Shelley. And Shelley was my wife, yes. She's been here at Channel 6 forever. I mean, she started off as a student, then as an intern, and then as a part-time, then as full-time, and now she's back down to part-time. But anything that ever went on in the history of Channel 6, I just have to say, Shelley, did we ever do a program on the Bramble? Oh yeah, we did it. Here it is over here. I mean, she is the history, And not only is she the history with Channel 6, but then also with the teachers. Oh, you want to have a teacher come in and talk about this? I know the perfect teacher. It's this teacher here. So it's that kind of a neat experience I can draw from all of them. Yeah, so the input that all of them give to something like the Bill Kimball Show, I'll put it together, I'll put the opening together, I'll show it to them. They are my best critics. They can sit there and say, you know, that scene right there moves a little slow, or let's beef up this scene here, or get rid of this scene altogether.
Everybody almost has to, I think, be a little bit of what you described Jamie as a jack of all trades, but they all do a little bit. They run control rooms, they run cameras, they have ideas. Everybody contributes in more ways than just Brandon always being a camera operator for you.
Right. I mean, outside of just working one piece of equipment, such as the camera, and knowing everything about the camera, then you also have to know how to work the teleprompter. Then you also have to know how to work the switcher, the CCUs, the camera control units that go there, the monitors, how to hook them all up, right down to that weird thing that we talked about, which was the toaster. Our graphics.
Lunch is coming.
that design, the toaster graphics to design the lower thirds that we've seen. You have to know how to work that.
Lower thirds, there's another topic that people may not understand.
Right.
We'll get into a little bit of that because I think you're going to take us on a tour eventually here.
Yes. So I mean, knowing all that, knowing about the regular computer, the scenery design. So I mean, there's so much that comes together to script writing, announcing, an ear for what sounds right and what doesn't.
It's almost a couple-day project to do each one of these shows because you have to take down whatever set is up, clear the stage, bring all the new, and then make sure everything is set so that it looks like the same time you did that program the last time. Say, our schools are board notes. You don't want Ken Kraft way over on the left side of the office or on the right. Everything has to be reset each time.
Yes, the viewers have to, you don't want to keep making the viewers scrambled around, confused about, oh, wasn't he over here? You don't want to have a viewer think about anything awkward. You want them to be comfortable with the set, comfortable where they're sitting. That's why we don't put you over here one time, or keep changing things on the set, because we want the attention to be on, the focus to be on you, what you're saying, and what your guest is saying.
Guys, if you wouldn't mind get out of my office, I need to get back to work. I got a lot of work to do here.
I think that's our cue to go.
Wow, we're bouncing all over the place.
And I think it was a good idea to get out of there.
Because if he gets mad at us, we're in trouble. We don't get anything done ever again.
Right.
Well, you showed us a little bit of the video tricks you can do now. Are there other things that can be incorporated?
Just as important is audio. For example, like right now, I can put music in the background.
That's nice.
Yeah, so you see, now we have this music playing in the background, very comfortable in anything. Or maybe I don't want to hear you anymore. Oh, okay. Yeah, there, now you can talk again.
And you can do that all from editing?
Yes, and as a matter of fact, another thing that I can do is that we can also put audio over a picture that, there's not even audio there.
Blah,
Do you
blah,
understand what I'm saying?
blah. I wonder what for dinner when I get home tonight. Maybe I'll go golfing, too.
Yeah, come back to Earth.
Yeah, sorry.
Like that, for example. Okay. And then also, we can mess around with the audio so it's like a Japanese movie. Hi, I like to wear chicken hats. Do you? See? How do you like what you just said?
I'm not sure what I just said. I hope I don't get letters.
Okay. So that's other things that we can do, and just mess around with all this stuff using all kinds of our equipment. And if you want to, we can go take a look at it.
Sounds good. We'll see some new things.
Okay, so lose these things. This way we don't have to, you don't have to be tethered again. All right. Okay, and first of all, we're going to break right through the fourth wall, and here we are. Here's the
fourth wall. Quick explanation of that.
fourth wall is the wall that people don't break to let the viewer know that they're on a set. Therefore, when they're doing sitcoms, they don't turn to the camera and say, after all, this is just all fake. So that's the fourth wall.
It's like looking through a window of a wall that's not really there.
Correct.
Okay.
So these are the cameras that we have, that we use. Usually there's somebody here manning a camera. Over here, teleprompter, so this way words come across here so people can read off a script. It doesn't look like they're reading off a script because they look directly into the camera.
Does that get a lot of use? That would be like evening news kind of thing.
Yes.
All right.
And then over here is our third camera. And then let's just make a walk right over to here and we'll go into our control room.
Yeah, sure, I can go to lunch. This is boring show I've ever seen. I can't believe how boring it is. Wait, they're not on the set anymore. Hi.
This is where the person's supposed to be directing and actually taking care of what goes on in the set. This is the switcher which operates the different cameras out here. And then as she clicks them, we come to different sets. And go back to the middle camera. See, and the set looks a lot better now that you got rid of those two
Why are there
people
so
up
many
there.
different monitors?
Each monitor is for the camera, so that this is camera 1, this is camera 2, this is camera 3.
All the ones you showed us in the studio.
Right? This is the preview monitor which shows what's going to go right next onto the main program. So this one could actually be different and then switch on to the actual program. Then over here, this is what we send over onto the airwaves. This is our control station. We put tapes into these decks here, and then that's what we use to broadcast over onto the air. And all the tapes that we use all come from all of this wide variety of programs, about 200 tapes on there.
That's kind of like a current rotation of what's on the air?
Yes. Then we run back here. And go through the classroom, and now we come into our edit bay. So this is where audio is done. This is our editing system, so when the tapes are finished, somebody comes in here, they put them on into the decks that are down here, and then they can edit the show and put them on the air. That right there is this tall standing unit is the toaster that we were talking about, which does the character generations.
For somebody not in TV, I don't think if I put a piece of bread in there, it is going to come out brown.
No, that's toaster is just the name given, nothing what it does.
Now, what is this over here with a camera that's facing basically straight down?
This right here is a copy stand camera, and so when we do still pictures, we put a picture in here, the camera will take a picture of it, and then this way it'll come back over here on these monitors so that we can put still pictures in, such as, well, like the Christmas cards that we have, that the kids make. We'll be able to show all the Christmas cards that they do.
So that's how you take the still pictures, a still camera.
Correct.
All right, where are we going next?
All right. Then we can run over here.
Now that was, you call it edit bay?
Edit bay, yeah, our main edit bay. This is a secondary edit bay. And this is one where the same kind of equipment is there. You have the same audio board, the same type of editor, but our toaster looks a little different. It's now in more of a desktop.
I can see a computer screen and probably a TV monitor, but why 4 screens?
Well, this one will tell you for your editing, this shows the numbers of each frame that the video comes on. This one is the toaster one, so you do all your preparation for what the lower thirds might be or for any artwork. This one shows a preview monitor of what you're about to put on the screen, and then that one there is your program one.
I've heard of a thing called a green room
Green
in
room.
various places I've worked.
Yes, and the green room we have through the store here. And then right here is a green room, and what that means is just a waiting area for where people would come and sit before they go on the air, if they have to talk about what kind of production they're doing, or if they're waiting for somebody else to get out of the studio, then this is where they just sit and relax and talk about their production.
Now over here, kind of behind me to my side, is something that looks a little more technologically advanced than what you've shown us so far.
This is the newest addition to the Channel 6 family. This is a non-linear system, and what that means is that all of the editing is done on computer. So therefore you can mix and match and put in different pictures and different scenes, jumble it all up, spit it out again. Whereas on our linear systems, you have to start at the beginning and go all the way through to the end. It's like like the alphabet. You start at A, and you have to go all the way to Z for your finished product. But on nonlinear, you can work on different portions. You can work on M, you can work on P, you can work on Z, switch them all around, mix them up. So nothing is on tape. It's all in the computer.
Does that save time when it comes to the editing?
Saves a lot of time on some programs, such as doing like a 30-second opening we did for Mr. Kimball. That was done here on the nonlinear. And this is also our copy stand camera, only just a little more modernistic.
I would say so. That is the same as the one with the camera perched facing down in the other
Yes.
edit bay. Everywhere you go, you have a room with stuff in it.
Yeah.
You utilize all your space
And
as you make your way around.
over here is our prop room. So therefore, all of the furniture that you might see on any of our sets, well, this is where it's all stored at when it's not in use. So right here, for example, this is Mr. Kimball's desk and table here. This is the shelf that was behind him. And then if you ever needed an elephant, well, we've got one. Or, instrument, milk crates, pictures, everything that's even hanging on the wall, or our couch or our table that we use for our green room, they're all props. So there's nothing that we do not utilize.
Kind of like you talked earlier about not having actually a cinder block wall up, you can, I guess, fake it?
Yes, and down here again are different parts of walls and sets. This came off the 2-story boarding house, which is exactly right. That's faking the idea that there's actually cement on for the foundation.
Boy, this place keeps on going.
Yes. The last room that we have steps into our library. Here is where we have our archive of all of the shows that we have done at Channel 6 from, well, since it started in 1986. And then on this right here that's laying in the front is working on new sets, new scenery. So this is our archive. And we're back, so make yourself comfortable.
This has really been neat. Thanks for showing us around and taking us to some of the insides of Channel 6. And hopefully we can do this again and explain maybe some of the different processes that we didn't really get to this evening.
Absolutely.
Is there anything about Channel 6 that our viewers might need to know, or that you may have a request from them at this point?
Yeah, actually, that if anybody has any stuff around that, I mean, you've seen all the different props that we use around here. I mean, anything that you could think that become a prop, something that you said, well, I'm going to get rid of this, but maybe Channel 6 wants it. Give us a call. No matter how weird the item might be,
An example.
we might use it.
An example, you told us about the 2-story boarding house when we were in that set, and those boards actually being out at the curb, but picked up, thought about it, used. Hose reels that people see you take on sports shoots become cable reels. They don't have to function with the water in them. So any kind of thing can probably...
Like a typewriter, that here's a typewriter that somebody said, well, nobody's going to use that again. Yes.
A map
yes,
rolled up down somebody's basement.
Right.
Just unrolled, it becomes part of a set.
A thermometer.
A thermometer that we saw during the show.
A chicken hat. No, it's not there.
Starting to worry me. Again, thank you very much. Is there a phone number if anybody wants to call and has a suggestion? Or you do requests too on Fridays?
Yes, we do, and that number is 984-6621, and that number they can call for a request, or again, if they have a donation.
Well, thanks for taking 5 to 6 hours just in production time, not pre and post, to put together this kind of a explanation for everybody as to what goes into these shows.
Hey, that's no problem at all. My pleasure.
Look forward to working with you throughout the school year, concerts, plays, sporting events, the interview programs, and everybody should have a little better idea now of what goes into making this work.
Okay.
Edward Senyk, our guest, the station manager here at CPHS 6 on special assignment this evening. Thank you for joining us. We hope to stay with you in the future for more programs right here. Have a great evening.